Hello, and welcome to Ending Physician Overwhelm. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Mello. I'm a family and obesity medicine physician, as well as a certified life coach for physicians. In this podcast, we talk about how the learned habits of people-pleasing, perfectionism, and a lack of boundaries show up in our lives and how they contribute to burnout, exhaustion, and overwhelm. The healthcare system is broken, my friends, but let's not wait for it to be fixed in order to feel better. All right, so you dreamed of epically quitting, right? Flipping the table and letting the world just deal with medicine without you. But my friends, here we are talking about those of us who did not get that experience. I wouldn't really recommend doing that, by the way, but you do you. Today we are focusing on part 2 of what happens when you get laid off as a physician, things to think through. Now, last week in part 1, I shared the story of a friend of mine that I recently reconnected with who is a subspecialist and after 15 years was laid off, which is maddening to me because she's in a high demand specialty and there's no shortage of patients who would sincerely benefit from having her as their specialist. But financial decisions being what they are, she got laid off. And this, unfortunately, is an increasingly common story because that is what is happening in medicine. So if we accept that that's a reality, that layoffs are still going to continue, that women physicians, possibly because we generally may have less seniority because there are fewer older women physicians still in practice, fewer older women physicians who were there in the first place, and therefore we are likely to be less senior. If we accept that more layoffs are coming, then we are able to think about what we want to do to manage it in a better way. And that's what today is about. So last week, we talked through these stories. We really sat down with the thoughts and feelings that are going on and laid them all out there. So if you did the exercise, even if you have not gone through a layoff, but just kind of imagined yourself in a situation like this, right? And really just let yourself write it out, say it out, talk it out, right? Naming what the emotions were, spilling all your thoughts into a brain dump or venting to a friend, right? Getting them all out on the table so they're no longer stuck inside. Now, what do we need to do? I think one of the first questions before we dive into anything else is really taking a look at the financial implications. We need to be able to answer this question, and we need to be able to answer it honestly. What is my financial situation if I'm laid off? So if you've been laid off, if you're at risk for being laid off, even if you're just thinking about leaving your job, what is your actual financial situation right now? Are you the sole earner in your household? Do you have a partner who has an income? Do you have other income that comes elsewhere? Do you have a cushion, right? Do you have, some kind of, hopefully not your retirement accounts, right? But some kind of other finance cushion that is available to you for living expenses, insurance, those kinds of things. We have to ask this question, of course, because some of us are primary breadwinners. Some of us are not. If you are the primary breadwinner, if you are the person who the household relies on for income, your situation is going to be different than the person who doesn't really have that issue. No one of us is right or wrong. These are just practical realities we have to consider. And it's really good to be clear. The reason I want us to sit with this question is that for a lot of us, we may not have as much financial pressure to go out and get a job compared to a drive otherwise. What do I mean by that? I mean that we often feel obligated to go out and start earning money as quickly as possible because we have a lot of feelings about not doing that, right? We may have stories about what it looks like to have a gap on our CV. We may have stories about what it's like to, quote unquote, not be contributing to the household income. We may have other sorts of pressures. We may have relationship issues, right? We want to be very clear. What is the actual financial picture? Because if there is less financial pressure for you to go out, and we can be very clear from a numbers perspective that there is less financial pressure for you to go out and get a job right now, that gives us some breathing room, and it's really important to know that. So if you sit down with your numbers and you look, this might be you talking as well with a partner, with a financial professional. What is the financial, numerical, mathematic reality of being in this position? Did you get a severance offer? Do you have some other money that is coming towards you? Perhaps, being laid off, perhaps you were in some kind of a partnership arrangement, or you have a share or something, right? There is some money coming towards you that is independent of salary or severance. We want to be very clear. What are those things? And what is the reality? Of course, if you've got health insurance through your job, right, we're going to have to figure out all those fun details about where else do we get the insurance. But being very clear on what is the financial picture and noting if you are feeling financial pressure, but it's not really coming from those math numbers. That is important to know because that, is a scarcity mindset that is going to drive you to accept something that perhaps is not the right role for you. We want to be very aware of that, right? Because this is our chance to do something different. Okay, so we want to get clear on those numbers. The next is, I want you to answer this question. If your friend had been working in your same job, right? She's got your talents, skills. She mimics you in how amazing you are with your patients, and she got laid off. What would you tell her to do? I want us to answer this question because this will also help us to see what we really think versus what we think we should think. If we would tell that friend that she should take some time off, that she should rest, that she should travel, that she should feel free to spend the summer with her kids, right? Which is what my friend is choosing to do. If we would tell her that, and we would not, quote unquote, allow ourselves to do that, I want to know why. Because clearly there's a discrepancy. We have heard for such a long time, I'm sure I am not alone on this, that we don't want to have a gap on our CV. And I think that typically comes out of judgment around academics in particular. Perhaps worry that, I don't know, you had some kind of God forbid, a health condition, right, that kept you from working, some kind of, disability, some kind of, oh my gosh, you chose not to work, right? Or maybe you were unemployable. We are going to deal with that particular thing in a little bit, but I want us to notice, what would we actually tell our friend to do? Because if we would tell our friend to take the summer off, to take some time for herself, to take some time to spend with her kids or travel, and we wouldn't allow ourselves to do that, we clearly have some work to do to sort out why can't we allow that for ourselves, especially if we've already gotten clear on the finances. Now, you may be in a circumstance where financially you've looked at the numbers and you can see that, yes, you have to go get a job. That is possible. I would argue that that's probably fewer of us. It's not zero. It's fewer of us than we would imagine. And Again, where is that pressure coming from? If you would put yourself under pressure to get a new job as quickly as possible, but you would not tell the same to your friend, we've got a mismatch. And I want you to sit with that and explore it a little bit, right? We want to be very clear. Where are we judging ourselves? Because this happened. This happened. We got laid off. We didn't choose this. We will be clear and realistic about our financial situation. But here we are, having gotten kicked out of a job. If we are going to continue working in medicine, which I presume that most of us will in this circumstance, we don't have to, but I'm presuming that most of us will choose that. This is an opportunity to figure out your next move in a thoughtful way. And that might include taking a little bit more time to be choosy. It might include having some rest. It might include you taking a break in employment in order to build up a different skill, in order to build a practice, right? There may be a number of things that you want to do. We're going to have to slow down here and figure out what it is that we are looking to do and really wanting to do. Okay. So what would I tell my friend if she was in the same circumstances to do after she got laid off? The next thing that we're going to do is answer more questions, right? This is about exploration. And the main question is, how am I going to use my lived experience to examine my next role or my next step? So here are some additional questions that I want you to think about. What did I tolerate at this job that I'm no longer willing to do? Any job is going to have things that you don't like about it. But there may be certain things that you put up with that you're not going to put up with anymore. That could be that you never had consistent medical assistance where your male colleagues did. They did consistently have someone who was helping them, and you did not. If that was something that was happening and it drove you crazy, I want you to write that down. If we are used to putting up with that, and I know painfully how common something like that is, we need to be very clear so that we can discuss it up front. We can find language that is polite but clear about what we will expect from our next position. So many of us are so used to agreeing to do whatever it took to have the privilege of working. Remember what it felt like to come out of residency, having been a medical student, having been a resident, perhaps having been a fellow, and being incredibly grateful that someone would offer you a job, that they would pay you an attendance salary, right? These things looked dazzling to us after years of working with little or no pay, or in the case of medical school, sometimes paying to be there, paying to work, paying to stay up all night. We need to think about this differently because we are in a different position, right? So what did I tolerate that I won't anymore? What lit me up at work in a good way? Yes, you can think about what made you angry at work. It's a different exercise, but what really excited you? What did you love doing? It may be something that you also have to sit with for a while, because if you've been feeling very burned out, you may have missed for a long time the feeling of being excited, passionate, or lit up. But it's very few doctors that I can think of that don't find some spark of joy with some aspect of their work. Again, it may have been dimmed by burnout, No lie, right? That is very common. But what did you really enjoy doing? Similarly, what did you dread? Knowing these things can also help to shape what you want, right? If you found yourself, say you're primary care, say you're family medicine, right? But you found yourself feeling very bored with chronic disease management and finding yourself really stifled by that relationship, you might be someone who's looking for more of an urgent care type setting, right? Where you get some chronic disease for sure, but you're also getting a better mix of acute care than most family medicine doctors might be getting right now. Now, of course, all this varies by setting, right? That's just an example. But if you're clear of, oh, no, I really do enjoy helping people in these circumstances more so than I like this other thing, know that so that you can look for that. Okay. What would I choose to do next if no one would judge me for it? Again, this taps back into that question of being worried. I guess it's not a question. We worry that if there's a gap in our CV, that we're going to have a hard time explaining it, that it's going to be a black mark on our record, that people are going to judge us. If you were interviewing somebody who was applying for a position and you're in charge, you're asking the interview questions, you see that there's a gap on their CV, and they told you this: well, I was laid off from my job after 15 years. The more senior person in the position was not willing to leave. They asked the two of us to make a decision, and because of seniority, I was not able to stay in that role. When that happened, I decided to take a 3-month rest and spend the summer with my children before I started my next position. Now, if you were the interviewer and you heard a fellow physician say that, would you judge them? Would you think that they were lazy? Would you think that they were inept or underqualified in some way? I sure hope not. I would look at that person and think, this is a human. This is a human physician who decided something very human for themselves, and good for them. That's what I would think, right? And I would look at that favorably. Now, I am not an academic department chair. I am not a surgeon. I don't do research, right? But for me, I would look at this person as a human. This person chooses to spend some time not doing medicine and take care of themselves. I would want more of that in my organization, right? If that's my decision. If somebody would judge you for that, right? And that might not be your exact story, right? But we can craft language and you can practice that language to help explain. I was laid off from my job. I'm a specialist, and there are a limited number of positions available in my field. After connecting with my network and applying for, the 2 jobs that were available, I was not able to find something that suited me until now, right? We can craft language that shows effort, that shows humanness, that shows reality without looking terrible, right? Again, who of us wants to be judged for choosing to take a small gap in order to have some rest, spend time with children or partners or travel, right? Those things are perfectly fine. Another language that you can borrow, I did not invent this one, but I love it. I took a poorly paid sabbatical after being laid off, and now I am ready to work again, right? Now I am so excited to get back to patient care. Again, if that doesn't resonate with someone, I don't know what would. And I don't think that we need to be scrimping ourselves into a position where we demonstrate that we're the work hardinest of them all, right? We know what that's like. We don't want to live that life anymore. So rather than get uptight about what other people will think if you take a break, if you didn't get a job right away, I want you to spend more energy just thinking about how am I going to frame this for people in a way and step away of their judgment, right? Or if they're going to judge me for that, then that tells me something about them. But coming back, what would I choose to do next if no one would judge me? Does that mean, again, time off? Does that mean that I want to create my own practice? Does that mean, I don't know. What else does it mean? Let's look at that, right? Write it down. This is an interesting question. What do I want my average Tuesday afternoon to look like in my next role? Pick a random day. Pick a random time. What is it that you want to be spending your time doing? If your immediate answer to that is that you only want to work 2 afternoons a week because you've got other things going on in your life that you would like to spend time doing, know that, right? Probably not going to be specifically Tuesday afternoon, but maybe it is because, I don't know, maybe you're going to take piano lessons on Tuesday afternoon and that's the only afternoon available. I don't know. But think about a random time of day throughout the week. What do you want to be spending your time doing? Again, this helps to inform when you're thinking about what is the setting I want? What is the autonomy that I want to have? How is the time spent, right? Do I want to work full time or not? We need to think about that, right? That is a reality. When we spend some time sitting with these questions, and I'm sure we could come up with some more, but these are a great place to start. We are going to be in a better position to think about what it is that we want next. And that is going to help inform our next step. So don't skip this. Don't skip past these questions that are helping you to explore what it is that you really want, how you're going to come out of your past experience, how you are going to describe any time that's in between, kind of this layoff and whatever you're going to do next. Be thoughtful about it. When we have language around this, when we've invested some thought around it, rather than jumping right into a next job, we are going to have a better experience. We are going to be better able to advocate for ourselves. We are going to be more thoughtful of how do I want to show up in that next job, including what boundaries do I need to set? Who do I want to be? How do I want to show up, right? These things matter because it is part of our lived experience in getting a better work-life balance, in being the kind of humans that we want to be. So once you've sat with those questions, once you have gotten a little insight and a little separation from the difficult feelings and thoughts, right, that came out of being laid off, then we are ready to start thinking about what we're going to do, right? And even if you're planning to take some time off, you can still be doing some of these things, though you don't have to do any or all of them. Spend some time updating your CV, right? Step 1. Again, it's helpful to have gotten those other parts out of the way before we do this. I know in an ideal world, we'd probably be looking at our CV every 6 months and updating it, but a lot of us need to dust it off. So dust it off, right? Get it ready. Depending on what kind of medicine you practice or what kind of role you're looking for, it may need to include more or less things, right? If you are applying for a non-academic position and your CV is full of all the publications that you did 10 years ago in your MPH, you may want to condense that. You may want to have a short version, right? You can use tools to help update that. Next, you want to be networking, and networking specifically with people that you know who are in your specialty and or people, from your organization and other organizations, right? Leverage the network of people that you know. Let them know specifically what you are looking for, not what you're willing to tolerate, what you are actually looking for. This helps to connect you with people who perhaps haven't posted something yet, perhaps would love to hire you. They don't have an active position posted yet, but they've been waiting for someone like you, right? You never know what's out there because unless something is posted, there's just discussions behind the scenes, right? Connecting with people, letting them know what you're looking for, letting them know that you're available is incredibly helpful, right? You never know what opportunities are going to fall in your lap. And I will say that it seems to me, I don't have a study on this one, but people who end up in jobs that they love, working in places that they love with people that they really enjoy working with, have often networked in such a way that they found something that was right for them rather than trying to find that on a job board. Next, I also want you to connect with people who you don't know, but people who are perhaps in your specialty or something specialty adjacent who are doing things in a different way. So perhaps you are used to being an employed primary care provider, peds, family medicine, internal medicine, whatever it is, and you want to see what is going on in my private practice community locally. Maybe you want to see what's going on in the direct primary care or direct specialty care scene locally. Who's doing cash pay, right? Explore what the options are. Look at go have coffee with people, reach out and connect with them. That's how I found my current position. I, saw something posted and, yes, it was an apply here, but also there was this guy's email address, like the clinic owner. And I just connected and I said, could we meet for coffee? I'd love to hear more. I don't know if I'm going to apply for this, right? That's how we connected. I know lots of people who have gotten their next thing, again, by reaching out in a human way before an application, before a CV, just trying to connect, right? And the people that you know will help to connect you, but you can also reach out to people in your community or in your specialty and see what is out there. Next, yes, you can go online and you can see what is available. I don't want you to do that first, though, because getting yourself out there, being able to let people that know you know that you're available, letting people who know you, who know what an amazing human you are, connect you with other people who are looking, right? That is going to be a much more fun and dynamic process, and that probably brings you to better and more interesting opportunities than what you're going to see posted. I remember before I quit, right? My circumstances were different. I quit my employed job. But before, I spent years looking at jobs online, and everything was just the same as I had been doing. And I knew that, right? And you probably have too, especially if you've been burned out. You've probably been looking in the same places. You've been looking on LinkedIn, you've been doing Google searches. Perhaps you're looking at some internal or local, sort of community groups trying to see like, what are the jobs in my specialty? Yes, we can do some of that, but if you want to see what people are really doing, how people are happy, you're going to have to break out of your comfort zone of just scrolling the internet looking for those roles. All right. So let me walk back through some of these steps, right, that we're incorporating as part of figuring out what to do after we've been laid off. So we are looking at our financial situation, right, and being really clear from the math. What do I need to do and how quickly do I need to do it? We are thinking about what would I tell a friend to do if she was in my position, right? And is that different from what I'm going to, quote unquote, allow myself to do and why? We are going to sit with the questions that I read out of thinking through what has our lived experience been and what are we looking to be different? That includes what we will and won't tolerate. It includes the things that we really enjoyed about work that we've done in the past, things that really bothered us or made us, feel dread? Do I want to shift anything that I'm doing? Right? And once we have some clarity around that, then we are going to start exploring, right? We've gotten our CV cleared up, whatever. And then we're starting to reach out to people, right? We are doing so from an informed and clear place, knowing what we want. We have cleaned up some of the thoughts and feelings, not because we were wrong to have them, but just because we probably don't want to bring that angry, upset, overwhelmed, hurt energy into these conversations as we are looking for our next role, right? We've handled that. We have digested those emotions, and now we get to move forward from a much, much better place. We'll reach out to our network. We will connect with people that we don't know who are doing something interesting and different and find out what are things like for them. Was starting a DPC hard, but now they love it? Great. You can do hard things too. Is somebody having a cash pay out of network practice and it's been the best fit for them? Fantastic. You won't know that until you sit down and have coffee with them, right? Dare yourself to get out there and connect with people who are doing interesting things differently than what you've been doing, right? Find out what they love, what has been challenging, what was their experience getting started. You can do this. And finally, then looking, if you still need to, on what are posted positions in my specialty, in my community, wherever you want to be looking. Going through these steps and putting some thought into it, again, allowing yourself the human experience of having the emotions that we dealt with in part 1, these are going to help us get through a difficult circumstance in a much, much better fashion. If you are listening and you have not been laid off, but you've been thinking about leaving your job, these are also excellent steps to go through. And again, it's still a good order to go through, even though some of the things are going to be different, right, than somebody getting laid off. But let's just acknowledge you probably have complicated feelings and thoughts about your work. You probably would benefit from sitting and looking at your finances, from thinking about what do I love, what do I hate, what am I no longer willing to tolerate, before you look for that next thing. And imagine coming into those conversations with people who have other roles for you, with people who are doing things differently, and you're coming from a place where you've got excited, calm, and clear energy, right? It is going to be a much better conversation, and this will get you ready for it. My friends, thank you for your time. Until next week, take care. Well, that's our show for today. Thank you as always for listening. To learn more about my coaching programs, head to www.healthierforgood.com. And if you love this podcast, please drop us a review on iTunes or support the show by clicking the link in the show notes. Until next time, take care.